You're now listening to CHRISPIRACY.
Chris X Matt. Question everything.
Break the matrix.
We are the ones they fear.
If we don't make the change, it's never going to change.
CHRISPIRACY.
Yo, what's good, everyone? Welcome to another episode of CHRISPIRACY. I am your gracious host, Chris X Matt. There's many Chris's out there, but there's only one Chris X Matt, and that is me. That is I. Welcome to the CHRISPIRACY podcast, where we continue to break the matrix. And today, I'm very excited about our episode, but before we get into who I got today, I do want to just say real quick, what the fuck is going on out here? It seems like the Democrats are back to regular scheduling program. We got the false flags happening again, the psyops. It seems like they're trying to come after the guns. And man, conspiracy people have been saying this, y'all. I'm just saying, they've been talking about New World Order, about them coming for the guns, communism, socialism, and we've seen a conspiracy theory play out in front of our eyes. And if y'all can't see that by now, I mean, there's not much I could do for you. I'm sorry, and people are, emotions are getting caught up on a lot of things. Now we got, everyone runs to Twitter, everyone runs to Instagram. Now the Asian propaganda is a thing, and then now the gun shit's a thing now again. And what was all this last year, man? It's like Trump got out the way and shit just got back to how it's been rocking. And man, we looking like we're gonna be China in a few years. So who knows where it's gonna go? But you can't tell me it's not looking like we're going down that communist road. And our guest today, he's very aware of what's going on as well, and he'll touch on a lot of this shit that's happening. But it's just funny to me that out of nowhere, and it happened on the 22nd. We had a false flag on the 22nd on Skull and Bones Day, and a 22 Master Destroyer Day. Like it always seems like some psyops happening on 11 days, on 22 days. You watch videos and the 33s pop up everywhere. So you can't tell me this shit's a conspiracy theory when the symbols are everywhere. But I don't even get too involved no more. I don't get too emotionally attached to what's going on. Anything that I see through a screen, whether it be a phone or a TV, it's questionable to me. I'm not letting them just mess with my emotions. I'm not giving the Matrix my energy like that. Like if I can't, I'm not gonna fly to Boulder, Colorado, and go fix this shit, right? Like, I mean, so what can I do? I mean, I could just look from afar, just say what I gotta say, and that's it. But all this shit is it's just agendas that they're pushing, man. There's just narratives they're pushing, agendas they're pushing, and they're going for one goal, and that's a new world order, a new normal. I mean, then the books they say in 2030, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get to the new world order by 2030. It's 10 years from now. That's a good way to start prepping it from now. As of right now, start implementing new ways. The technology taking over. Bitcoin becoming crazy. Everyone's just moving to a different space, and it's either you have to adapt or you get left behind, and it is what it is. And that's the reality that I'm also getting to, where as much as you try to wake people up, as much as you're trying to you want things to be quote unquote right and fair and all that, and it's like that should not really always work out well for you. Some people end up hurting like that. So you kind of just have to look out for you and yours, and control your inner matrix. Control what you can't control, what you can't feel, what's around you. Don't let these screens get the best of you. So today on the show, I do have an amazing guest with us. This is someone that I've looked up to for a minute since I came across him. I found out about him because Gary, the numbers guy. You guys know how how I fucks with Gary. Yes, he's, Gary questionable. I get it. He gotta chill sometimes. I get it. But Gary has, his information, his knowledge has helped a lot of people, and he did his interview with my guest that I have today, and I was sold on the personality, And I started doing my research, started listening to his podcast called Hoteps Been Told You. I started listening to, or started just viewing his, going through his YouTube channel, watching the Love and Marriage show, watching him build his new blog that he just dropped. I just really just been peeping, and he really gives you game. He has a book for even males and the masculine energy. He's an author, so he's worked on the tech. He's a tech person. He owns a lot of tech companies. He works. He has an app called The Gifted Ties that I use. He has a app called Wazo. I think it was Wazo AI. And he also he has a Bitcoin app, a wallet type of currency holder thing. And I actually have some crypto questions as well. I want to talk about NFTs. I'm kind of curious about NFTs. I want to get a little bit of information if he does have information on that. But I'm very honored for this person to come on my show, and I'm happy to have him on my show. And I think it's gonna be an amazing episode. So I hope you guys are ready for today, because today we got none other than the man of God himself, the OG grifter, Bryan Sharpe, aka Hotep Jesus. How you doing today, sir?
What's up, brother? Thank you for having me. Appreciate you, man. Love.
Man, thank you, man. It means a lot for people with your type of platform to do. I'm a realist, like I told you before we started recording. I know my platform is smaller, so people like you doing my show means a lot because it brings different eyes to me. And I know I've heard you say that before, where you kind of say, one of your guests might say, "Oh shit, Hotep did CHRISPIRACY. Cool, I'm gonna go do that shit too."
Yeah. I might be the launch pad for the smaller platforms. I just remember what it was being like, when I was a little guy reaching out to some people like, hey, and I'm looking at them like you ain't that big, motherfucker. You know what I mean? Come kick it with me. Let's talk, and it wouldn't happen because a lot of people had egos. So when I was down, I was like, man, when I'm up, I'm going to pull so many people up, because that's really what this is about. It's about the fact that, we have this establishment that has its own agenda, and the people need more real leaders. And, it's only so many spots they're going to be able to, so many sparks or so many lights that are going to ascend. And sometimes those lights ascend and then they dim out, right? They no longer become a light or a beacon of hope for people. So it's like when you ascend, you got to bring others with you. And that's really how we fight the establishment. You gotta turn back around and lift the next man up, because once he comes up, then he can pull the next person up, right? So anybody I pull up, if they don't extend that love to the next person, they're gonna have to deal with the wrath of karma, because I've given you that gift and the curse, right? So when I pass that baton to you and you don't pass it to the next person, you might lose your spot next time, and I might set somebody up to take your spot just because you didn't pull people up, So don't be a gatekeeper, be a gate opener.
Do you feel like the baton has been passed to you?
Absolutely. Without Chris Lighty, without 50 Cent, I remember, Chris Lighty, RIP Chris Lighty. Yeah. He was the first person to really give me a shot, and said, hey, hire this guy, right? It was really Violator management that put me in a position I am today. I mean, I worked hard for it, not to say I didn't do it myself.
Wow.
Also, my homie Demic, I was in a rough patch of my life, and I always say, like, if there's anybody that saved my life, it was Demic, D-E-M-I-C. Really, really brilliant dude. And I was just in a rough patch in my life, and he breathed life back into me. Yeah. I had my own record label. He had his own record label. We had some crossover between our artists and friends and so on and so forth. But my artist got incarcerated, and I just wasn't compelled to be involved in music anymore. And then, I was just like really trying to find my way again. So I started studying. I was reading the self-help books and so on and so forth, and just trying to recenter my life. And then he reached out to me, was like, yo, I'm about to go shoot a music video. You want to roll? I was like, man, I'm broke. I can't even do it. He was like, man, don't even worry about it. We're going to drive down. We're going to do it, whatever. So we went down to Orlando and shot his music video, and it just like breathed life back into me. And on the way back, he was like, yo, you want to form a group? And I was like, word? I was like, I'm going to be rapping now? Because I'm used to, being the manager, but it wasn't like I didn't know how to rap. When you around, you playing around, you in the ciphers, you writing. I was always writing. I was recording music of my own, but I was still managing artists. But, I'm the type of person where if I'm in a label, I want to make music so I know how to make music so I can help my artists, right? So, I was immersed in it. So when he asked me to do that, I was like, word. And then we went on to become a touring act. And that really, really changed my life, man. It was really amazing. So, he was definitely one of the people that pulled me up, and he still pulls me up to this day, He was great, brilliant cat.
And obviously the Chris Lighty connected you with 50 Cent, right?
Yeah, well, another thing, it was his idea for me to start an entertainment blog. And so I started it, and that became like super popular. I got that shit popping crazy. So I was getting invited from the media already. So I was at different artist events and so on and so forth as media. And, they were sending us products. People, Real Housewives was requesting us to interview. I had 7 people writing on my blog, and it was just really blowing up. We broke the story when Nicki Minaj's nip slip happened. Like we were the first blog to really break that. We were the first blog to break that story, and when we broke that story, it broke my website, and I had to reach out to an artist that I knew that was signed to Universal Music at the time and asked him to borrow some money because I knew he just got signed. He had some bread. So I got my site back online, got a dedicated server, so our site was running much faster to handle the traffic we were now getting. And I was able to make that happen like only a few hours, right? Because the site went down. Yeah. So, the site was really doing the numbers. And then I was just very quick with the stories. And I saw 50 Cent dropped a new product. So I covered that product on my blog, and they reached out and said, hey, do you want to come to the launch? And that's where you get to see the video of me and him on the bus. And, I'm an artist, so I'm sitting on the bus. It's 50 Cent's right there. When I first got there, it was a double-decker bus, New York City. When I first got there, I tried to sit in the front because I knew that's where he was going to sit. His security got on, was doing clearance for the bus. Was like, nah, you got to move. So I was like, all right. So I moved back. And then it was like a lot of, executive people there, people in radio, some other famous people on the bus. And I was just chilling, just enjoying the vibes. And when the bus pulled off, it just felt too quiet. Cause I'm like, yo, we on a bus of 50. It's supposed to be live on here, Yeah. So the bus pulled off. It stopped at the light, and I looked over to my right, and I just seen people just standing outside. And I'm like, they don't know we on a bus of 50 Cent. So one mind is like, yo, tell them we on a bus of 50 Cent. Other mind was like, chill, you about to get kicked off the bus. Yeah. But one thing I always learned was whenever you have fear and doubt, you got to go towards fear and doubt. And usually that's when things happen for you. So I broke through the fear, and I got up. I'm like, yeah, I'm on a bus of 50 Cent. And somebody was like, stop lying. I'm like, yo, he's sitting right here, right? So 50 stood up, and they were like, oh, my God. Crowd was going crazy. So they start throwing product off the side of the bus, blah, 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 blah. And then when the bus pulled off, his management team was like, you, come here. Come to the front of the bus. Keep doing that, right? Yeah. That was live, like how you got it lit right there. And I knew all about the product and everything, so I'm shooting out their catchphrases and stuff. Like I studied the product. And then that night, they had like a launch party. So Angela Simmons was there, Omarion was there, like people from TV and movies was there. So I'm in there mingling, like, you know what I mean? I didn't get home till 5 o'clock the next day. I'm high off energy drinks and alcohol. Just so lit, man, so lit. And didn't have $1 to my name. Barely got home. Damn. And so of course I had got a lot of business cards. So over the next few months, I was just following up with the business cards, following up. Finally, I got a meeting, and they were like, yo, we got an event out in Chicago. We want you to come out and host. So I went out and did that. And that's when Chris Lighty was like, you see that kid right there? He got some fire with him. So they invited me to dinner, and I'm now kid sitting at dinner with 50, and 50 turned to me at dinner, and he pointed at me. He's like, yo, you a genius. And I was like, yo, I'm humble. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. And then it's just been on ever since.
So you had an actual personal relationship with 50?
I wouldn't say a personal relationship. It was definitely business. I was working for a subsidiary, basically, of his money. And so, I'd have to go down to the G Unit offices. We shot a couple of joints together. I got my daughter in one of the commercials. He come in the office. I was hosting events for him. Like we did one in Vegas. We did the Chicago one. And I think there might have been another one, and I can't remember. But, I was, it was a business relationship. It was definitely not personal. I had gotten personal relationships with some of his team, but not him. Yeah.
So rewind a little bit before that. How did the Chris Lighty connection even come about? How did you guys even cross paths?
So remember on the bus, his team is there. So that was violator management is on the bus. So when I followed up, it was the subsidiary of his money that reached back and said, hey, we need brand ambassadors to work the Chicago event.
Oh, okay.
Right? It was like a trade show.
Mm.
And they got this huge booth, 50 Cent's faces up there, we're all big, and, you know, we're handing out product and just doing promo at the trade show. And I'll never forget this one black dude. He said, yo, if you really want to stand out, change the garbage. Like, keep an eye on the garbage, because when you're handing out product, people are drinking it and throwing it in the garbage. It fills up really fast.
Mm-hmm.
So I was keeping an eye on the garbage. I was hustling. I was very high energy. You know, I was just, you know, really killing it. I mean, I was just a young kid who grew up on 50, and I'm like, I'm just happy to be there.
Yeah.
Whereas everybody else is kind of there like, I'm just here for the check. And I'm like, screw the check. Like, I'm here with 50 in Chicago. Like, this is like, I made it, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is my dream. And although it didn't come through music, still I was with 50, so that's music. And so Lighty was there at the trade show. And that's when he first noticed me, when I was just hustling. I didn't say nothing to him. We never had any interactions. I can't say I never had an interaction with Lighty, because obviously we did have one at dinner, and maybe on one other occasion. But before that, I didn't have any interaction other than meetings, right? That was after the fact. But I didn't know about this until like maybe a year later. Somebody was like, yo, Chris Lighty put you on. I was like, word? It's like, yeah.
How old were you at the time? 20?
31.
31. Damn, man. Top of the world
Yeah.
at 31, you feel like, huh?
Yeah, I mean, at 30, I'm broke and I got kids, and I'm like, I don't know where my life going right now. Everybody
Yeah.
like, yo, you messing with this blog and it's not bringing no money, and everybody's in my ear, and you know, I'm hustling and just barely making rent every month, right? Like, I'm making money online just to make rent, right? So then when I got the job, you know, I started making some real bread now, and them checks was coming fat. Now I'm talking like, I told you it was going to work. I told you it was going to work, you know? So it was just really, really live. It was just really, really, it was like my breaking moment. But I was 31 at that point, you know, and that was finally my big break.
But did you actually ran This Is 50, or because I mean that website kind of
No.
Okay.
I never worked for This Is 50.
Oh, okay.
In fact, I actually hacked my way on This Is 50 when 50 dropped. When he dropped the 50th Law. I'll never forget. The day it dropped, I was anticipating the night before. You got to remember, I'm media, so I got to be on top of this stuff. So that morning, I woke up, I left the crib to go to the store to go get the book. Now, when I did that, my shorty bugging. I come back. She like, why'd you leave the house? You didn't go to the store for no book at no 8 a.m. You was messing with some chick. I'm like, yo, I swear I went to go buy this book. Like, she's like, no, nobody gets up to go buy a book at 8 a.m. I'm like, yo, I swear to you. So I had posted my picture with the book, and I tagged 50 and everything. And then later on that day, I made thisis50.com front page.
Okay.
And went viral.
Okay.
So then I went to my shorty like, see, I told you I knew what I was doing. She's like, I was like, I told you I had to get this, you know, I had to really like move. Yeah. So I had made my name on This Is 50 from that, you know, from that viral moment.
So that's where, and you still weren't Hotep Jesus though at this point, huh? It was still
not
Bryan.
Hotep Jesus yet.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So when did that like conversion happen then? Because going from working in the music industry with these people, it's completely opposite of what you're pushing now.
So when I'm working for 50, I feel very lonely, right? I had a lot of frenemies. Friends that I thought was my friends was jealous of my big opportunity. So they wasn't around. And I thought because we came up in music, like they would just appear like, yo, you were 50, yo, we coming up to NY with you. And they just wouldn't come. And I'm just like, why are they not coming up here? Like, we finally here. I got 50's ear. I could get y'all signed to G Unit possibly, or one of these other record labels. Because I'm there with Sony. I'm at Hot 97. I'm at all the record labels, Def Jam. I was in Def Jam building when they were designing 2 Chainz logo. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Yeah. I was there. Like when he showed me like, hey, which one do you like? You know what I mean? In the offices. So I was there like in the industry and using the fact that I was with 50 to get leverage to just see what's happening at these labels. So I was at Atlantic. I was in the Sony building, you know. So in fact, our building was across the street from Sony, Caddy Corner. It's crazy. So like my friend of me was just like, so I just felt really alone. The only person I had was Demick, and he's a hustler. And like I said, we was on tour. So Demick was everywhere with me. So outside of him, I just felt really lonely because if he wasn't there, it was just me. And I was like, where the people I came up with just wasn't around. And the part that was really scary was I started noticing people that wasn't messing with me when I was an independent artist that knew about me. Because remember, when I was a touring artist, like we were pretty big in our state. Like people knew of us, but you know, it's a lot of hate. But when I did the 50 thing, people was reaching out like da 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 da. And I'm like, yo, back then you didn't want me. Now I'm hot. You all on me. So I finally got what Mike Jones was saying when he said that line. I was like, damn, this is real. But then being in different places, like I remember this one dude used to come up to the office. He used to always drink Ciroc. I ended up having Ciroc bring us some drinks, you know, bring us some bottles of Ciroc. And I remember this one dude, he used to always come to the office and drink Ciroc with us. And then we was at a party one time and he pulled up and I know he seen me, but he felt like he was a Hollywood star and he wanted me to approach him or people to approach him. So when he walked in the door, he stopped and just looked around, you know, trying to wait for somebody to just run up to him. Like, and I just stood there and just looked at him. And then he humbled himself and then walked over to me. I was like, yo, what's up, B? Da, da, da. I'm like, nothing, chilling. What's up? How you? You know? And I just started seeing like everybody around me was like real phony. So I'm like, oh, this is what they talking about with people in the industry is shady. And I could just feel like one of my superpowers is reading people. I could just be around you long enough. I could read you and read you like a book. And I just noticed like everything around me was just real shady. So I like depression set in, you know. A lot of it was because I was burnt out physically from working so hard. But some of it was from, you know, loneliness and the shadiness and having to look over my back and like wonder who was down and who was real. And I just got really like paranoid. So when that situation with the 50 Cent subsidiary dissolved, I had already launched my own agency at that time. But I didn't want anything to do with music no more. And I shut down my blog. I was like, I just thought it was all evil. Like, this is like demons, right? And I was just about to ask you.
Because I mean, the people say the dark arts in the industry and all that. Did you get to experience it to a certain level, or you didn't get too deep?
I didn't get that deep because I picked up on it from the outside.
Yeah.
It's a vibe you just feel in interacting with people, and you could just see the demon in them. Like people that would be on the cusp. Like I remember I was talking to this one dude, and this is right before he got his $1 million deal to start his record label. But I picked up shady vibes on him from the gate. And then when he got the deal, I saw how he dealt with somebody else I was close to. And she came to me like, yo, he just did me dirty. I helped him build this label, da 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 da. And I was like, I knew that dude was shady. But you just see the demons. I remember the first time we met one artist from the UK. She's real big. They tried to compare her to Rihanna. And I remember being in her dressing room and, you know, trying to talk to her.
Can I guess?
Huh?
Can I guess?
Go ahead, guess.
Rita Ora?
Yeah. And she gave off demon vibes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and it's just, I don't know, it just felt funny. Her team and how she was acting. And I remember, I never forget, I was right outside her dressing room. Elliot Wilson was in the hallway. I took a picture with him. We kicked it. And KRS-One brother was in the hallway. And KRS-One brother was like, yo, like, I showed you acting shady. Da, da, da. He started cussing. He was just wilding in the hallway and shit, you know what I mean, with us. Because he was just like, he kind of like took our side, you know what I mean? Like, I was venting to him, you know what I mean? And I don't think he was trying to do anything negative towards Rita Ora, but he was just like, yo, that's fucked up. So he's just being extra loud for no reason. And I just felt love. So I was like, and I met KRS before, and I was like, that's like a real individual, you know? So, you know, you just see a lot of like devilish shit, man. It's just like people just acting real demonish, you know?
You could tell KRS is a real one. I'm sorry.
Huh?
You could tell KRS is a real one. Look how they the industry pushes them out. It's always the ones they push out is the ones that they don't want to participate in the agendas and shit.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So, I was just like, I went through a spiritual awakening, man. Like, I said from this day forward, I'll never wear another necktie. I threw away my suits.
Mm.
I started wearing African garb, and I just was like, the locks was getting long now. And I was just like like I went vegan. Like I just went through a whole type of cleanse. I was hitting the gym, and I just became like this whole new person. I left my blog. I deleted my blog off the internet, which was a terrible business decision, but a great personal decision. And then,
And this is still before the Hotep
this is still
journey, right?
before Hotep Jesus. So at this point, I changed my Twitter name to Vibe High because I was like, yo, we got to vibrate higher. So I leveled up spiritually, mentally, physically, and was in a different place, and then
Did you have to rebrand as well?
I had to start all over. I had to start all over from scratch because people were like, yo, who is this guy? I became anonymous. Like when I was on the internet, I didn't even have my face on the internet no more. Like I changed my account name to Vibe High and removed my picture. Right?
A LARP account?
Nah, it wasn't locked. It was public.
No,
but I
a
changed
LARP, a LARP account.
Is that what they call it?
It's like a fake person with the.
Oh, it wasn't a fake person. It was just like this eye, this really weird looking eye.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was just dropping some knowledge, and people started picking up on it. And then people requested. They said, "Yo, you need a YouTube account." And I think they was trying to say that because I was anonymous, and they wanted to see if I was a real person. So then when they saw my face on YouTube, they were like, "Oh, he's a real person, and he's speaking like straight from the heart." So I started doing the YouTube thing, so on and so forth. But I was only doing the YouTube thing. I said I only got like 14 thoughts to get off my chest, and I had like maybe I started doing that. Then I started doing more videos, but I started doing the videos for the views, and it just wasn't resonating with me. So I stopped doing them because I don't like just doing stuff for views. I like doing it because I really care, So I stopped doing the YouTube thing, and then the whole Mike Brown situation popped off, and that's when the black liberals gave me the title Hotep. Now, keep in mind, prior to when I hear the name Hotep, I'm thinking Hotep, Hotep, and I'm thinking the greeting. When people say peace, we say Hotep. But they started calling us Hotep, and I'm like, wait, you can't be a Hotep. But they said, yo, shut up, Hotep, shut up, Hotep. So I was like, all right, since y'all dissing their ancestors, I'm gonna take this word and make sure nobody sully it no more. So then that's when I became Hotep. And then I was very spiritual with my voice. So somebody was like, "What you think you are? Some sort of Hotep Jesus?" And I was like,
"Yeah.
Ooh, that shit got a ring to it."
Yeah.
And the way it just looked on my screen on my phone, and I sat there, and it only took me about 2 minutes. And I was like, "Yeah." I changed my name immediately and became Hotep Jesus, trademarked it, and it's just been on ever since.
And then once you established that, did you feel like you had to kind of quote unquote grift off the Hotep Jesus name? Because then the Sean King video happened, right? After you already Hotep Jesus, or no? Or that was before you were Hotep?
That was before Hotep Jesus.
See, that's interesting then. That's interesting. So you're already kind of on the road to. Okay, I can see why they would call you Hotep then. That makes sense.
I was exposing Black Lives Matter before Black Lives Matter got exposed. You got to remember, Black Lives Matter didn't get exposed till last year.
Yes, yeah.
I was talking bad about him in 2014, 2015. And it's documented on my YouTube. You can see the video where I said Black Lives Matter is a rainbow agenda. And then I was talking about Sean King, right? And I did one on YouTube and I did one on Twitter, 2 separate videos. And people was like, yo, you hating because people wasn't following you. I'm like, what? I'm like, nigga, I just came off of a deal with 50 Cent. Like,
yeah,
I've been popping. I was a tall artist. I've been popping. Like, why would I be jealous of these cats?
Yeah.
And I remember seeing like the dude, DeRay McKesson, and I started following him because I thought he was a reporter. And because, he had the Ferguson whole situation. So I started following him because I wanted to see what was going on in Ferguson. And then when I seen him on the news and they propped him up as an activist, I said, activist?
Yeah.
This dude ain't no activist. All he do is tweet and pop up videos. Like, is that activism now? Because back in my day, activism meant you had to actually do something.
Right.
or you was talking about the conspiracies, like, you know, when you was an activist, you was talking about the conspiracies, Wall Street, Fed, you know, all these different things, the 13 bloodlines, Illuminati.
Right.
That was activism. Now, then activism became tweeting. I'm like,
IG
what?
post.
Yeah. So I didn't understand that. And I got in touch with Darren Sills. And he was the real dude on the ground. And Darren Sills was like, yeah, I smacked DeRay McKesson when I first seen him because he was out here, you know what I mean? He basically accused them of stealing money and whatnot. And I was trying to expose that to the community. But everybody, you know, the media had hopped on Black Lives Matter and DeRay McKesson in them so much that everybody thought that was the real, you know? And they thought, you know, we was just hating.
I mean, I fell for it, bro. I was that cat that, you know, would watch Breakfast Club interviews every morning. Everybody they would have on and just fall for the propaganda. You know, I'm thinking Charlemagne's out here doing something good for people, bringing, you know, certain light to certain situations. And now I'm like, oh, no, that's why they propped this guy up. That's why he's the personality that he is, because he's pushing that agenda, the black supremacy agenda, I guess you want to call it. And, you know, the black, everything black right now, which is, I get it. I get the propaganda behind it, but I was that person, bro. When D-Ray went on there, I'm like, oh, D-Ray's real. When they had I mean, Umar, I think Umar's still a good cat, you know, even though he gets clowned a lot. But certain people get on there, and I would always vouch every time Farrakhan would go on there. Oh, that's dope. You know, Breakfast Club woke. They got the good people on there. Whole time they agents.
Yeah. You know, so I was just exposing a lot of the stuff I saw and calling it for what it was. So I got blocked by a lot of black accounts, you know, and which actually saved my account later on because, you know, these black liberals would one day become blue check verified accounts and they'd mass report you and all this stuff. So because I had that wall, people wouldn't even see my tweets. So I was able to be in my own little bubble, which was good. But yeah, I was exposing the agenda and people thought I was hating. I was minding my business. And then the Hotep Jesus thing happened.
Was there a certain Hotep in your eyes that started putting you onto game? Was that Uncle Hotep maybe, or you guys meet later on in your journey, or?
Well, Uncle Hotep started following me from my YouTube videos. I was Ali Shakur, and he was following Ali Shakur, and he was buying my merch and like supporting like crazy, you know. So I followed him back, and then the whole Trump thing, Trump started running, and that's when I first found out about what conservatism was, because Uncle Hotep said he was a black conservative. I'm like, what the hell is a black conservative? Had no idea about these things because, you know, I remember I wasn't in politics. I was in music and, you know, all that other stuff. So I started studying and peeping game and watching what's going on. And you got to remember, being a so-called conspiracy theorist, I was already on Hillary Clinton's neck about her dealings in, you know, the foreign countries and all of that and Libya and, you know, so she was already on my shit list. So when Trump came about, I'm like, oh, this is easy. I'm Trump all day, right?
Facts.
This is 2015. So for me, it was a no-brainer. Later on, people will be like, oh, he cooning, da-da-da-da. I'm like, nah, like, do y'all know Hillary record with black people? Have y'all seen the people in Haiti and the signs that they've created about her and what they said about her foundation after the earthquake? You know what I mean? Like, there was a lot of...
And who works with her, bro? Karen Civil.
They get the best of us. That's all I'm going to say. They get the best of us, you know? So when I saw that, I thought that this would be an easy win. I said, there's no way black people going to side with Hillary Clinton. They going to rock with Trump because Trump had the rappers and all of that. Then I watched the media just demonize them. I'm like, oh, wow. And then black people was really falling for it. I'm like, damn, they really got us. But they was doing it like, you remember Jay-Z and Beyonce was campaigning for Hillary, you know? Yeah. So when they did the concert and all of that. So I'm like, damn, they really got the Democrat Party really got us. And you know, the Republic.
I'll never forget when Pusha T was giving free albums to go vote for Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
For Darkest Before Dawn album. Never forget that.
You know, and I think they obviously they cutting checks for that, right? It's business.
They have to, yeah.
You know, so I can't be too upset because At least you getting paid. Some people out here shilling for the Democrat Party ain't even getting paid.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
You know, they just grifting. But so then Trump got elected, and I was like, I'm rocking with this. I'm rocking with these cats because ain't no way in hell I'm gonna rock with the Democratic Party, especially after I know their history. You know, the Democratic Party is the party of the KKK, is the party of Jim Crow, is the party of the Confederate flag, right? Like today they try to demonize. You got to remember, they just pulled down a statue of Robert E. Lee. Mm-hmm. Robert E. Lee was a Democrat, right? So I'm like, but they label Republicans as the racists.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, this that rules for radical Saul Alinsky strategy when you blame your opposition for that which you are guilty of. And I'm like, damn, people really falling for this trick. So I try my best to just speak my truth, stand 10 toes down, and just be real as possible. I even linked up with some so-called white nationalists and had conversations with them, right? I had no problem with that. When I look back in history, because you got to remember I'm a dude that do history. I got this book right here. Hold on, I'm going to show you.
Yes. Yes, sir.
It's about Marcus Garvey. And it's basically a collection of his work. It says Selective Writings and Speeches of Marcus Garvey. And this is something I've read before. And in this book, he had meetings with the KKK. So like, yo, let's sit down. What do y'all want?
Right.
Let's come to an agreement, right? Let's talk like men, because y'all getting out of hand right now. Then when we go look at the Nation of Islam, the Nation of Islam was working with the Nazi Party. They had meetings together. Nation on one side, the Nazi Party on another. So here we are, fast forward, and I see the white nationalists and black people like, why are you talking to the white nationalists? And I'm like, did you have that same energy for Malcolm X? Did you have that same energy for Marcus Garvey? Or do you not understand how men operate? Because men said that, I remember when we talk about feudalism, before kings fought, they'd come and they'd talk. They'd drink, have dinner, right? Yeah. And say, tomorrow, I'll take your head off. That's how men operated. So I'm used to operating from a place of masculinity and not femininity. Femininity goes, oh my God, look at those racist white people. I'm so scared. And I'm like, masculinity's like, look at these dudes who have an ideology, which I may not agree with, right, but let me understand this more and see where we can find common ground. And I found out that there was a lot of common ground. I also found out that I had more in alignment with so-called white nationalists than I do a white liberal. I also found out that the white liberal has more political and cultural power than the so-called white nationalists. I always say a white nationalist or even let's call a white supremacist. A white supremacist can hurt your feelings. He might even be able to hurt you physically.
Right.
But the white liberal can hurt your pockets. They can destroy your community from the inside generationally.
Yeah.
A white supremacist, yeah, they might kill one of us. They might kill a couple of us. But a white liberal will march millions of us into a Planned Parenthood and cause generational genocide. So you're talking about clipping a few of us off, which is insidious, but the white liberal is duplicitous. They are underhanded. And what they do is they chop you at the root. The white nationalists might chop off one of your branches, but those could grow back. But when you chop something at the root, you destroy the whole tree. Yeah. And that's the difference between the power between the white liberal and the white supremacist. What I always say is the white liberal is the true white supremacist.
Facts, yep.
You see, in order to have white supremacy, you need to have power. White nationalists have no power. That's what they're complaining about. The fact that they lost or don't have any power.
Yeah.
And it's the white liberal that has all the power, the white socialist that has all the power. Go look at the New Deal. When you go look at the New Deal, you want to talk numerology.
Let's get into it.
Not Woodrow Wilson, FDR and Hitler come into power in the same year, 1933. In fact, the same month, 1933, they come into power.
Year of the Ox, I believe.
I'm not sure. It might be. So them two come into power same time. Not only that, there's connections between FDR. He was educated in Germany.
Really?
He spoke German. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
There's a whole link between Wall Street through corporations like IG Farben, General Electric, so on and so forth, Standard Oil, and the Nazi Party. In fact, the whole Nazi Party was financed by Wall Street. Another story for another day. Go do your Googles.
Yeah, definitely.
Or your DuckDuckGos, because Google gonna hide it. So FDR, well, Hitler is National Socialism. Well, FDR brings about the New Deal, which is almost a mirror of National Socialism as purported by Hitler. Also, around the same time, you have, well, right prior to, you had the Bolshevism revolution, which is communism and socialism. All three of these things are financed by Wall Street. The New Deal is destruction of all of America. This is like more of the beginnings of destroying America. Obviously, it starts in 1913, but 1933 was a real big deal with the New Deal, so on and so forth, and the socialist policies. I'm going to be doing a lot of research on that in the future. Have not gotten a chance to dive into it yet because I'm still looking at the ties between some other things in my new book coming out soon. And then we'll be moving on. My next book will be on socialism and communism and exposing that whole thing. That's going to be wild and crazy.
Hell yeah.
But this book is dealing with the conspiracy of money and the conspiracy of war, which is why we got to look at Hitler and World War I and World War II. So there's going to be a lot of hidden facts in there about that. But again, Democrats.
Joe Biden falling 3 times, going up the stairs. I've tapped out of politics. I'm not gonna lie, I did think, there was gonna be an overturn and Trump was gonna get back in somehow. But once I saw they drag it out to like January or whatever, I was like, yeah, nah, I'm done giving this my energy because it's like with Trump, we thought maybe it felt like there was a good person fighting for us, right? I'm not saying he maybe couldn't have led us down a certain path, but so far, like, gas never got as crazy as it is now. So he did certain shit that, I peeped game. He helped the HBCUs, the jail reform shit, and people don't want to give him credit for that. Orange man bad, fine, I get it. But I still thought there was something in me that was like, you know what, Trump will win and we'll be solid for the next 4 years. Everyone was talking about ascending. Go ahead.
Well, when we look at the whole jail reform thing, right? Mm-hmm. The reason why they didn't want to give him credit is because that bill had already been on the table. All he really did was sign it. Right? So you can't give him credit for creating the bill, but you have to give him credit for signing the bill. Because if you say he's racist, then he wouldn't have signed the bill. Right? So you got to kind of pick one. HBCUs, they said when they went to him for funding, he said, why y'all keep coming back every year? They said, they make us come back. He's like, here's money so you don't got to come back. Right? Like, so here's the big thing with Trump. A lot of things happened that even conservatives complained about, Republicans complained about, that were part of the establishment. And I always said, some of this stuff is above his pay grade. Right? And some things are in his control and some things just aren't. And I think he tries to have some say-so in the things he can control. Like the border, right? And so on and so forth, right? The difference between Trump and Biden is Trump has a mind.
Facts.
He's going to be asking questions. Why are we doing this? That. He's going to be talking back. You see what I'm saying? Now, people might say he's part of the establishment. He is. It's just different. And me and my friend came up with this analogy. The analogy was Trump is like that little annoying brother that, you kind of like make fun of, you push him to the outside because he's a little quirky and weird.
Yeah.
And then he ends up becoming president of the United States. And you're just like, damn, how little bro become president of the United States? Right? So now he's got his power. And now because he's got his power and you've ostracized him his whole life for being young and weird, he's like, right? And so that's the attitude he has in there. Like, yo, I got a position of power. I'm going to talk my shit. I'm going to do what I want, right? And there's only so much y'all going to make me do. But with Biden in there, they're just passing his bills. And he's just like, okay. He has handlers.
Right.
So this is perfect for the establishment because they don't have somebody sitting in a seat that's going to even question anything and say, what's in this? Or why are we doing this? With Trump, we brought troops home. We try to check the border, prices, economy, jobs coming back domestic, the peace with North Korea. He checked China. When he checked China, China's stock market crashed like overnight. So he's the first president to really go and check China. Like, who was going to have the balls to do that? Biden in office.
How do you feel about him always referencing, like, save the children shit? You know, everyone, the people always thought he was going to save the children.
What children?
Like, you know, just the whole, he always did talk, he had those tweets about the pedophilia and the perverts and shit like that. Do you ever think he was trying to do something about the sex trafficking and shit?
Yeah, hold on 1 second, hold on. Okay, so in order to talk about this, you got to talk about the ignorance left, and it's going to go back to the Trump debate versus Biden. In that debate, they were talking about the border, and Trump used the term coyote. Now, coyote is basically someone who smuggles people.
Correct.
Contraband, etc. Twitter the next day were like, what is he talking about coyotes? And they were posting the animal. This is how ignorant they are, that they don't know about the sex trafficking trade and the people trafficking trade. So they didn't understand this. So we were like, yo, like, y'all don't even know what a coyote is. So when you talk about what he was doing for children, you got to remember that the easiest way to get away with trafficking people is to have them undocumented.
Right.
What do we know about the people coming across the border? What do they always say? They're undocumented. And what do they say? There's kids in cages. So
Right.
we're talking about is undocumented children coming across the border. So these are the people most likely to end up in some sort of trafficking.
Correct.
They are being trafficked. That's why they're here. People are trafficking them in. Undocumented once again. So when you say, what was he doing against the children? That border, which is now a crisis,
Right.
was one of those things to stop that.
Right.
So when people build the wall, they're saying he's being xenophobic. And I'm saying, no, you have no sympathy for child sex trafficking rings and sex trafficking of women and children. This is what's happening. If you build that wall, you destroy that industry somewhat.
Right.
They have to find some other way to so on and so forth. So yeah, he was fighting that. And it was just like, build the wall. Oh, it's racist. I'm like, so you want people to get trafficked? That's what you want. Because these people some of these people aren't coming across just because, they want to. No, they're being dragged across. They strapping, cocaine to their back and like, yo, go deliver this package. Or you're going across. Or here, take this child with you. This is what's happening. But, if you listen to the media, you're going to believe, whatever they tell you. What did Denzel Washington say about the media? He said, if you don't watch the news, you'll be uninformed. If you do watch the news, you'll be misinformed.
You have to know how to decipher it. Because sometimes the truth is always really like there, they just kind of remix it a certain way to sway the narrative.
Well, look at how they covered the protests. Dude is on CNN talking about, mostly peaceful protests with a big ass building on fire behind them. So the truth is right there, but the words on the screen gonna say another.
And everything just seemed like a psyop, man. Everything, the Capitol building stuff. So where do you think we going? Obviously, in your opinion, where are we going, man? The gun.
China.
They come. Yeah. I didn't want to say it.
China. That's where we're going. Remember I told you that the New Deal brings in more socialism.
Yeah.
In fact, here's the big problem. You have a lot of these socialists and communists, leftists, liberals, whatever they want to call themselves, progressives. These weirdos want to blame capitalism for everything. They want to say that America is a capitalist nation. America is not a capitalist nation. America is a socialist nation on its way to becoming communist. First, let's define what this is, because a lot of people are going to tell you that socialism is when the people control the means of their labor. No, that's capitalism, when you control the means of your labor.
Facts, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So in order to understand communism, we first got to go to Karl Marx, and we can pull up his 10 planks of communism. And in there, you'll see the word, maybe even 3 times, you'll see the word centralization. So succinctly, my definition of communism and socialism is centralization of power in the hands of the state. That's exactly what it means. Centralization of power. Well, what was the Bill of Rights? Well, the Bill of Rights was taking all these 13 colonies and putting them under one head. That's centralization. This is the beginning of socialism and communism coming in. And then later on, you get the central banks. Well, what was one of the 10 planks? One of the 10 planks was having a central bank. Lenin, what did Lenin say? 90% of communism is having a central bank. What does the United States have? They have a central banking system.
And everyone that doesn't is going through it.
See, capitalism doesn't do that. Capitalism decentralizes everything. It allows free trade. In fact, the term capitalism has been poisoned. See, capitalism, root word is capital. The derivation in Latin is capitale. Capitale means land or resources. So capital is sometimes synonymous with money. Money ain't land or resources. Today, I mean, you can probably misnomer it as resources, but when we think resources, we think something that actually has some usable value, right? Yeah. That's some fiat currency, right? Yep. So capitalism is poison, because capitalism doesn't appear until the socialists create this term called capitalism. And it's in Karl Marx's book, Das Kapital. And that's where they get to frame what capitalism is. So sometimes I don't even use that word. I just use the term free market. And in order to do that, you got to go study people like Milton Friedman, Mises Institute, Rothbard, Bastiat, Sol, Walter E. Williams. You know, these are people you got to go study to really understand free market versus socialism and capitalism. And until you look at both sides of the arguments objectively, I even had my daughter sit down and watch a debate between Walter Williams and some white and some black liberals from the 70s. And she was like, those other dudes are assholes. This guy, Walter E. Williams. And I didn't frame it prior to. I let her just sit down and watch it. Right. And then I asked her opinion to see which side would she pick. And she picked Walter E. Williams' side. She's like, he just makes more sense. And if you look at it from an honest point of view, free market capitalism makes more sense. Hong Kong was doing well, but the best way I like to talk to black people about communism is I say, what happens if Shaniqua does hair out of her house? You know what happens if she does hair out of her house? Do you know?
She don't. I don't know.
She might go to jail. She might get a fine. You're not allowed to do hair out of your house. You need a license, and you need to do that in a commercial building.
Yo.
Right?
Is that serious for her?
Have you ever heard of a ghost kitchen?
I'm sorry, what?
A ghost kitchen.
A ghost kitchen?
Yeah.
I haven't, no.
So ghost kitchen is basically where you set up a restaurant, but there's no physical building. You just rent out a commercial kitchen, cook food, and deliver it like Uber Eats.
Okay.
So they order it through electronic thing and you just deliver the food. There's no restaurant to come into or pick up like fast foods. They call it a ghost kitchen.
Okay.
You can't do a ghost kitchen out of your house because there are rules and regulations. That's what communism and socialism does. In order to protect the whole, you have to destroy the individual rights. So Shaniqua, if she was, for example, doing hair out of her house and they found out, she could be fined. You have to do it out of a commercial building.
Wow.
That's socialism and communism. Creating barriers.
Regulations.
Even to do hair, what do they say? Oh, you need a license.
Yeah.
Then when you take the test for the license, it shit ain't got nothing to do with doing hair. It's about all these regulations and things, and a whole bunch of, it's all about, understanding the regulations. So to do black hair, you got to ask a white man's permission. That's socialism and communism, the encroachment and centralization of power to tell you what you can and cannot do as an individual. Capitalism would say, yo, you can do whatever you want, yo. You making money, cool, do it. And it evens the playing field. You see, what happens is the financial elite become involved in politics, and in order to destroy competition, they use government. And government creates regulations. Right. For example, when we talk about accredited versus unaccredited investors, and I talked about this on my last podcast with Funderfox, unaccredited investors, for example, they say you need to have $200,000 2 years in a row, recurring profit, right? Or you got to be worth $1 million. Your total net worth has to be $1 million 2 years in a row. How many people are like that? None. So you're not allowed to invest in a startup unless you meet those credentials to become an accredited investor. But you can go buy lottery tickets.
Right, yeah.
So they say they're doing this to protect you from risky investments, but go ahead and blow your money on drugs and alcohol and lottery tickets and gambling, right? Go blow your money on that. But like this real investment, let's say, you in the hood and you got a startup. I couldn't take $50,000 and invest in you, right? But now they've changed the regulations over the few years, and now the cap is 5 million for startups. It used to be 1 million, but now the cap is 5 million. But who says there has to be a cap on this stuff?
Right. Yeah.
Right. And there's a certain percentage to accredited versus unaccredited investors that have to be in the pool. And don't get me to lying. You can talk to the attorneys about this. I interviewed them on the Funderfox interview.
Right. Yeah.
But it's these regulations that say, damn, the vehicle to extreme wealth is investing in companies. Like, that's how you 10x your capital. That's how you 100x your capital is by investing in companies. But those barriers are set up to say, yo, you can't do it, but you go buy a lottery ticket. That's communism. So what did the financial elite do is they use government, lobby government to create barriers to the competition. You can't come up. But that's communism. It's the same thing that Karl Marx hated the middle class. But the middle class is actually more likely to become the upper class. But that's the upper class's competition is the middle class because they got that money to invest.
I never looked at it like that. That's interesting. Yeah. Oh, man, that's a lot of information, but
I know I threw a lot on you.
No, but we see it. I see it happen. I see the way we're going. I hear you. People like you talk. I hear other people speak as well. Even Gary when he gets his his communist tweets off, and we seeing it. We seeing this unfold. Like even with the Asian propaganda hate. Is it because the CCP is taking over that we can't talk shit about Asians no more? They're trying to anti-Semitic the same kind of situation, or
correct?
It's just. I see it, but
that's what it is.
Yeah, huh?
You just nailed it.
So then we can't say shit about Asians.
You have the encroachment of China in the world power sphere. Democrats are wholly, they're in their pocket. And in order to curb criticism, you have to create this movement of Asian Lives Matter, and any critical thought about China or Chinese people would be demonized. and you'll be demonized. See, the establishment, what they realized is it's one thing to have the establishment demonize you. It's a whole nother thing to have your friends and family demonize you, right? We always talk about you're taught this at a young age, the term peer pressure.
Right.
It's peer pressure that controls us. So now your peers are looking at you like, what'd you say about China? Do you hate Asian people? It's like, wait, what? I'm talking about the CCP here. Like, this has nothing to do with, ethnic, racial, racism or anything like that. But then when we look at when the Asian community comes into the black neighborhoods, they don't hire us. They take from our communities. They don't invest in our communities, right? I remember one time there was a discrepancy in one of these nail shops, and the man was kicking black women, beating them up. They had to boycott the little hair shop. So they come in and they sell our products. I remember one black girl, I believe it was California, she opened up a shop and had to close down months later. They asked her, why'd you have to close down? She said, a bunch of the products come through Asian distribution channels, Chinese distribution channels, and they wouldn't sell to us. That's how you destroy competition. Right. So now you have some black people are randomly, not, I don't think it's even as big as they say it is, but it's happening. You see even in Brooklyn with black and Jewish people, where Jewish people might get attacked by black people, or black people might attack Asian people. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with violence. But what I do know is when you corner a dog, he attacks. These people feel oppressed. So when you come into the neighborhood and you're riding around in a Mercedes Benz off of the poor people's egg roll money and you don't give back, and they walk in and you catch an attitude, there's going to be some animosity amongst the people, right? And a lot of it is our fault. We shouldn't be supporting these establishments. But the other day I saw them say, Asian lives matter. What are you doing to support them? Somebody's like, I went to eat Chinese food today. Like, oh my God, like what is going on here? It's ridiculous, but the thing is, like, there's so much nuance to the conversation, and that's what they want to destroy is the details of it all. Right. So if I say something about, for example, the problem between the Hasidic community and the black community in Brooklyn, and sometimes black people are attacking people. I had my Jewish friend come on my channel and tell me that when she was younger and she walked through the Hasidic community, they would spit on her. And this is a Jewish woman, because she was a Jewish woman not following their way of life. Right. So if these people are treating other Jewish people like this, imagine how they treat black people. Wow. When we talk about gentrification, when we talk about controlling whole city blocks, there's some animosity that'll be built up. But if you talk about this, you're anti-Semitic. And it's like, no. One of my first girlfriends, and I hate to use this, oh, mom, I got a black friend. One of my first girlfriends was Jewish, right? Like, I love Jewish women. There's a lot of hot Jewish women. Facts. You know what I mean? Facts. But I have a lot of Jewish friends. Gary, the numbers guy, Jewish. My co-host, Jewish. My libertarian homie, Adam Smith, Jewish. I know a lot of Jewish people. I look up to Jewish people. Murray Rothbard, he's a Jew. A lot of great Jews that contributed to society. So I don't deal in anti-Semitism. I don't believe in that. Yeah. But I can criticize all groups of people. Now here's the funny part. When I criticize one community, it says one thing. But when I go on Joe Rogan and I question the validity of slavery, nobody says I'm being anti-black. Right? Yeah. But if I ask questions about other events in history, I could be labeled some sort of misnomer. This is the dynamic of power. But the thing is, they have to destroy nuance, because with nuance, the truth rises to the top.
I feel like we just keep creating the reality they want to see, man, and that's the unfortunate part. You know, we
Yes.
always see something on the screen, and we're quick to move towards that emotion towards, you know, the way they want to harvest it, and it's just unfortunate, man. That's why I tapped out, and sometimes I tell myself I'm doing a disservice to maybe my platform, or just because I initially started it trying to share information and trying to debunk the things that are going on, but now I don't even keep up, because every time I do keep up, I get mad, I get frustrated, nothing's changing. Like, why am I keep seeing the same thing? Like, I know it's a psyop. Like, so why am I engaging in this? And so I just been so tapped out. But obviously, you get on Twitter, you see a retweet, you see people, stop Asian hate. Like, when the fuck does this become a thing? I think Sir Hottest J, I think, said, you got Asian people telling non-Asian people to hate people that don't even hate Asian, something like that. And I started dying, because it was true. Like, where this fuck all this shit come from? You got artists, celebrities saying stop Asian hate. Like, what am I missing?
It's a grift now. It's the new grift, you know, and it's also virtue signaling.
Damn,
you know, it's also, again, so it's like that trifecta. It's grifting. It's what was the other one I said? But the last one was peer pressure, right? Oh, virtue signaling, right?
Yeah.
So it's grifting, virtue signaling, and then the last one is peer pressure. So, for example, I have a friend who has a shop, right? And he's working all the time on this shop and some other projects, so on and so forth. So he doesn't have time to be on social media. He doesn't watch the news. And the whole Black Lives Matter Black Box Day comes up. You know, you got to post a black box, show your solidarity. So he goes on, he updates his Facebook page, you know, with an update about his shop. And people like, do you hate black people? Blah, 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 blah. Why haven't you posted the box? So he calls me up. He's like, bro, what's this box?
Oh my.
I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, people are telling me I need to post a black box on my page. So I start cracking up laughing. I'm like, what happened? He like, yo, I posted a sale on my page today, an update about, you know, my shop, and people are telling me I'm racist because I didn't post a black box. I was like, wow, has it come to that? I'm like, you're not even allowed to just be in your own bubble.
Yes, bro.
And you're labeled something by not participating in the agenda. So that's where the peer pressure comes in, right? So it's just like, I don't want to be labeled a racist. Let me post this black box. So you're peer pressured into pushing the agenda. So Asian Lives Matter pops up now. So one celebrity sees one say Asian Lives Matter. Well, he like, I don't want to lose favor. I don't want to get less tickets sold. I don't want to be labeled as somebody that hates Asians. Let me show solidarity with the movement. Right. So it's virtue signaling, grifting, and peer pressure. So that's why it's like sometimes you got to read people to know which one is it. Is it a combination of all three? Is it two of three? It's one of. But that's why sometimes people come down on celebrities, and I'm like, you can't always come down on them because they might be in that peer pressure lane.
Yeah.
Also, it's ignorance. Mm-hmm. You got to remember, when you're a celebrity, you're just like my guy with the shop. You're not watching the news. You're going from this interview to that interview, and you don't really have time to keep up with the current events. So when something pops up, and you're not somebody like me who studies history for a living, you don't know nothing. All you know is music. So when it pops up, you're like, oh, this is sad. Here, I'm down. Asian Lives Matter or Black Lives Matter, because you're ignorant. Not in a sense of where you won't educate yourself because you don't have the time to educate yourself.
I was listening.
So you fall into the trap.
I was listening to Joe Budden podcast, right? And he started talking about the Asian hate thing, and he goes, you know, all my friends are posting it, but like, yeah, fuck yeah, I agree. You know, Asian Lives Matter, I agree, but I don't know why I'm agreeing. And I'm just like,
that's it. That's the ignorance. Yeah. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, man. That's
exactly what I'm talking about. Right? And Joe Budden is somebody who's got a crazy busy schedule, I'm sure. So, you know, he's not looking into historical fact. He don't know nothing about the CCP and the Uyghurs and the concentration camps in China and all of that.
Do you really think so though? Sometimes I feel like they do know what's going on. They just, like I said, they just stay quiet because that's not gonna get them the bag. It's gonna deplatform them.
That's why I say you gotta take a look. Which one is it? Is it all three, two of three, or one of three?
Okay, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is it peer pressure?
Pressure.
Is it grifting? Is it virtue signaling? Because it might
Grifting.
be all three. They might be like, yo, the peer pressure hitting. I don't want to look bad. Let me virtue signal. And you know what? While I'm doing this shit, I might be able to get a bag. So it's like you kind of got to read the person to know which one is it or what combination is it.
Man.
Which is hard to fault them. That's why I say I don't look at them. I look at me. And I carry my life a certain way. I carry my life in a certain way where I'm so independent. I don't have to go along with the agenda because they can't cancel me.
Right.
How are you going to cancel me from my own corporations? Right? I don't have sponsorship deals. I don't have endorsement deals. So you can't cancel my money. You can't cancel me from my own website. I get paid directly from the consumer to myself.
Facts.
I get paid in Bitcoin. I get paid in cryptocurrency.
And
You
donations.
Word, right? Like, you can't cut me off.
Yeah. Yeah.
But these other people, they got bills, they got family to take care of, they got investments, they got things to think about. So they're afraid to get canceled because they don't know how to create income independently and have not done so yet.
That's a good perspective. You think we'll ever see you on one of them platforms? A hip hop platform?
I hope.
Man, you on a Budding podcast would be fire. You on shit. Go fuck up Nori's podcast.
I want to do Nori's podcast.
Yeah.
I really want to do Nori's podcast. I really want to do that. I want to do Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
Ebro at Hot 97 told me I'm not allowed up at Hot 97.
Wow. That's why everyone hate Ebro.
I remember one time I had a friend reach out to me, associate that I knew from back in the 50 Cent days, and he wanted to talk to me because he knew I was talking that Trump talk. But he recorded his stuff inside the Hot 97 building. I was on my way to the Hot 97 building. I was just picking up my son from the knee doctor, taking him home, and then I tweeted, I said, yo, I'm on my way to the Hot 97 building. 5 minutes later, Ebro follows me on Twitter. 5 minutes later, I got a phone call. Bro said, hey, yo, we got to reschedule the podcast. As I'm on my way to Hot. And I knew what it was. Mm-hmm. That podcast never got rescheduled. Never heard from him again. And I asked Ebro, I said, yo, because Ebro used to complain about my tweets. Like, he would try to come at me. Mm-hmm. But my sarcasm's just too witty. So by the time I got done with him, his mentions would be full and people would be laughing at him. Yeah. So he found out he can't do battle with me on Twitter because I win every time. Because his own followers don't mess with him like that, right?
Yeah, they don't, yeah.
Right. So, and my followers really, really dig me. So, he would try it and he'd get roasted. So I asked him one day, I said, my response was like, yo, won't you bring me up to Hot? Let's have that conversation. He said, yo, you're not allowed at Hot. I said, wow. So you asked me, would I ever be on these hip hop stations? I would love to. I just feel like they're afraid of me.
100%.
I would love to do Gilly the Kid's podcast. I love Gilly the Kid. I love his perspective on life. Mm-hmm. Things a very intelligent dude.
Yeah.
I feel like he's a very masculine individual, which is what we need today as well, with the feminization of the black male and feminization of all males, really. But I would love to do one of these hip hop podcasts. I did the biggest podcast in the world, though. I did the biggest podcast in the world, and I did the biggest Bitcoin podcast in the world. So for me, technically going to do a hip hop podcast will be going down to the people based upon numbers, right? For me, I feel like it's just a whole nother lane.
But you would want more of the demographic in the hip hop community to be listening to you, right? Because the Joe Rogans and them, that's a different crowd, right?
I don't know. When it comes to the black community, I don't know. I this is something I've struggled with because you got to remember when it's Ali Shakur, that was my target demographic. My rhetoric today is not for that demographic. I don't talk to black people. I talk to white America, specifically conservative and libertarian white America, because I feel that they're closer to where I am ideologically, intellectually, not as much knowledgeable. I feel that me talking to black people, I just don't know. And I think it's because I haven't been on these hip hop podcasts, right? So I don't know how they'll take me. Like, look at the information we covered today. Would I be so over people's heads?
But you have a skill though of saying it in a manner where you don't have to say it all intellectual so people can understand it. You know, you can say it dumbed down.
I don't do that though.
Okay.
How I said it to you today is how I'm gonna say it anywhere.
Okay.
I don't think you got to dumb it down for the black community.
True.
They'll understand you. You don't got to dumb it down for them. When you speak, they going whatever. I just don't know if it'll be too much.
Okay.
Because sometimes what happens is when you go too deep, you don't get people at all.
Right.
Right? I'm talking about FDR, New Deal, communism, capitalism, capitale, and all these different,
Yeah.
I do think it could spark a lot of minds and give them a place to start research. But I think that if I was to target the black community, I would have to focus on one thing, one area, and like just speak about a certain topic and sort of break that down and focus on that. I'm too all over the place. I know too much.
Yeah.
And I would need somebody like Nori to keep me focused on, one thing. The other thing is we tend to tune people out when they say certain things, right? Like if I say, yo, if you ask me a question like, or if you saw the picture of me with a MAGA hat on, they'd be like, I ain't fucking with him. So everything that comes out of my mouth will be invalidated.
That show's comedy.
Hey.
Oh, you breaking up.
Yo.
Yo.
Yo, you can hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I first made that target demographic switch, because I was like, I don't think black people getting me because I'm trying to warn them about the Black Lives Matter thing and they calling me a coon and a sellout. And I'm just like, nah, I'm trying to help y'all, So I'm like, nah, y'all not ready for the message, So I don't know. So when I switched to the different demographic, they got me. And I think the reason why I liked it was because it was a symbiotic relationship. Because not only was I educating my audience, my audience was educating me. If I'm talking to a predominantly black community, they're not going to tell me about Alexander Solzhenitsyn. They're not going to tell me about Rothbard and Bastiat, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to tell me that. They might say Basquiat, but not Bastiat. See, if I say Bastiat, they're going to think I'm talking about the artist that Jay-Z talking about. I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about Frederick Bastiat.
Okay.
Who's talking about free market capitalism. You know what I mean? But again, we've been so programmed. So when I use certain words like capitalism, they might tune me out. And plus, like you said, you got people like Karen Civil, who is working with Hillary Clinton.
They have a hold of the culture.
Huh?
They have a hold of the culture too. They're a big voice within the community.
Yeah, and I feel like our community, they got such a whole hold on them. It's just like, where do I even start at
Yeah.
to even break down? I remember when I first made that switch, I lost a lot of my followers. I lost a lot of my YouTube subscribers. I got 50,000 on my account. At least 20,000 are dead accounts, right? Because people like, I'm just not tuning into him no more because I don't like his rhetoric because I've been brainwashed into being a hate Trump guy, and anything attached to Trump I hate, right? So when I made that switch, a lot of people didn't get it. But after they see me on Rogan, they got it.
Yeah.
I'm playing chess.
I see you.
You know, I'm playing chess with life. And what chess is, you got to think several moves ahead. Sometimes you got to sacrifice the queen to win the game.
Whoa.
It's called queen sacrifice. Sometimes you got to sacrifice a pawn. Sometimes you got to sacrifice something. I've sacrificed, in order to rise, I had to sacrifice speaking to black people. That was my sacrifice. Look, I love y'all, but I can't talk to y'all right now because y'all don't get me. I got to go over here and I got to talk to these people because talking to these people is going to be what's better for me. And when I rise, I can come back and I can help y'all. Because had I stayed in that lane, I wouldn't be on Rogan. People like Lupe Fiasco wouldn't have said, yo, I saw you on Rogan. I wouldn't have some of the rappers that follow me. I wouldn't have some of the NFL players that follow me if it wasn't for that. But in order to do that, I had to play on the chessboard and say, yo, I'm going to change my message. Because when you in the black community, if you in like black Twitter, there's basically a cap to how many followers you can have. There's a cap to your reach. There's a whole world out here we can speak to. Right. And there's a whole lot of white folks that want to help black communities, right? Like this banner behind me, a white man bought that for me. Like he invests in Hotep Nation because he just really cares. And he grew up on hip hop. You know what I'm saying? So when I opened up my message, I reached a wider audience, and that was better for me and my platform. Sometimes you got to think about yourself to rise in this world. If I'm still talking to black people with the same rhetoric, all I'm going to get back is, you a coon, you a sellout, right?
Yeah.
With the same exact message, remove Trump.
Yeah.
And I'm still called that. Like for example, the whole Mike Brown thing. Like I got called Hotep because I was telling people, let's invest in black business. Now we fast forward and that's mainstream now. But when I said this 5-6 years ago, I was a coon and I was a Hotep for saying that was the solution.
Yeah.
For them, the solution was, let's complain about white people. Let's go protest. And I'm like, y'all could protest, but when you protest, make the call to action, invest in black business. But they're like, oh, that's capitalism. Even the founder of Black Lives Matter said, I think her name is Patrice, she said she was a trained Marxist.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Right? This is what I'm up against, a multi-billion-dollar movement that's Marxist and socialist. Yeah. Against me, just this regular guy, right? So I'm like, I can't win in this lane. I got to switch lanes. When I did that, a lot of my followers was like, what happened to Ali Shakur? We lost a soldier. My homie Demick got it.
Yeah.
My homie Demick got it. He was like, he didn't abandon y'all. Y'all lost him. Y'all lost Hotep Jesus. You know, like it was that old what's that phrase from the Marvel movie? Something, you know, live long enough to see yourself turn into a villain. Mm-hmm. That whole thing. It's just like I became a villain to my own people. But y'all made me this way because y'all lambasted me for my ideas, which you 5 years later adopted. Yeah. Right? So it's like, I'm going to come back when y'all ready for the message. And that's why I said, when you say to me, you know, would I go on a hip hop podcast? I'm like, I think the timing got to be right. And I think the topic got to be right. And I think the host got to be right. But no matter who invited me on, I'd go.
Right.
I mean, I don't know how I do breakfast. I don't know how I do Rogan, and Breakfast Club hasn't hollered at me. Well, I do know because I cursed out Envy back in the day. So I know that's not going to happen. And me and Envy don't really jive too well.
And Rogan reached out because of what you're doing the tech side, or was it because of the Starbucks viral video?
None of that. His friend reached out and said, "Yo, this dude is very interesting. Have him on."
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
Nice, yeah. Yeah, I did see when I went back after I found out about you. I went back and started looking at your old interviews, and I was like, "Yo, Rogan, the fuck?" I was like, "Let me go peep this." That's dope.
And then you know, so everybody was trying to say I was a sellout, but when you get to that last hour of the Rogan interview, black people came back around. They was like, "Yo, you made us proud, dog. You made us proud." And I'm like, I've never lost that. I just stopped talking about it.
Yeah.
But I had that ideology. That's what I was teaching y'all when I was Ali Shakur, and y'all was like, "Oh, he bugging." Like if I tell black people we was the natives, they gonna tell me I'm bugging.
Right.
So I'm like, yo, whose side is you on? You on black people or you on somebody else's side? Right. Because they had something called the Dawes Roll, and the Dawes Roll was where you get the term $5 Indian from. And white men were paying $5 to get their name on a Dawes Roll just to be considered Indian. So it was pay to play. So when reparations came down for natives, a lot of white folks got paid. When you got the natives going back to the antiquity of America, white man's America, the white man was defecting to go live with the natives. The people in power were going to catch white folks and bringing them back and making them POWs. Like, nah, you got to be enslaved because you a traitor, right? But they was like, yo, they living good. Y'all over here starving. Go look at cannibalism in colonial America in Virginia. It was starving to the point where they had to eat each other. But the natives, clear example, go look at King Kamehameha out of the kingdom of 19th century kingdom of Hawaii. Tell me that's not a black man. So we made it to Hawaii. We made it to the Caribbean. Brazil has the second largest population of black people next to Africa. But this continent of North America, we wasn't at. Yeah. We just said, oh, skip North America. I don't like Florida.
Speaking of Florida, man, it's lit out there right now. Shit.
Yeah, I was just out there. I love it.
I know my parents live out there. I'd be out there pretty often, too.
Yeah, I love Florida. Miami's my baby, man.
What do you think? You think they're trying to push a certain use Miami and Florida for a certain agenda? You know, do you think, because they issued a state of emergency, they put the curfew back in, but supposedly they were opened up.
When you go to Miami, Miami's open.
Okay.
Right? The thing is, spring break is a yearly thing with black folks. Memorial Day weekend, we down there. Right? What it is a lot of conflict of interest. On one side, they saying it's open. On another side, they saying, well, if this gets out to the large media, these people aren't social distancing. Now, when you looked at them South Beach, right? You looked at Ocean Ave. Ocean Ave was flooded.
I see.
Right? It was probably double flooded because everybody been on lockdown for so long.
True.
So the population is probably doubled than what usually is. Because I've seen Miami crowded like that, but not. I've seen Miami crowded, but not like that. So obviously videos is going viral. So they got to save face. Yo, somebody install a curfew. We can't have this get out that they're out here chilling, because then other people are going to start asking questions. Wait, if the thing is so deadly, how are all these people out here no mask, right? And they're also trying to push the needle on us, right? That's the big agenda. Get the needle, get them to take the needle.
Right.
black people are affected disproportionately, by the so-called virus, right? But then you go look at Miami and nobody got a mask on. My homie, he real connected to the hood. I spoke to him last week and I asked him, I said, yo, the hood believe in this stuff? He like, nope. I'm like, I ain't think so. Because I've always said the hood is Hotep. They question everything.
Yeah.
They don't believe nothing. Right?
And
I said, do they be wearing masks? He like, yeah, they wear masks, but it's more of a fashion statement. And I'm like, I can see that. Like, yo, my mask match my kit. You know what I mean? And he like, you'll see cats 5 deep in the car, no mask on. You'll see cats run into the car, grab their mask because they forgot to put it on and run in the store. Or asking somebody, let me borrow your mask real quick. I just got to run in the store. Yeah. But they not really with that whole thing. So when the media pushes this whole thing about black people having to social distance, get the needle and wear their mask, and then you see viral videos of a bunch of black people not social distancing and not wearing masks, it destroys the narrative.
The narrative, yeah.
Because then they're like, man, people got questioned, like, why they not wearing their masks? Maybe it's because they don't believe or they not even scared of it.
Yeah.
Because if you believed it, you would be afraid. Yeah. But since you're not afraid, you don't believe it. You're not taking it serious. So it destroys the narrative. So they're like, look, we got to cut this out. Drop the curfew.
I feel like I'm insensitive sometimes because COVID don't exist in my world, bro.
COVID is a trademark term. It exists. The term COVID is basically a form of a coronavirus.
Right.
Now, if you ask Dr. Simon Gold, she'll tell you that when you diagnose your patients prior to stupid 19, a cold will be labeled as a coronavirus. And they had treatment for that. And she was using certain treatments even when the stupid 19 hit. So it's real, but according to CDC's own data, if you're under the age of 50, it's like 99.85% or something like that survival rate.
Yeah.
So it's real. It's the idea that it's a pandemic is what's not real.
Virus is real, pandemic is fake.
Boom.
I agree.
Look at when she who was it that? No, it wasn't her. It was another lady that pulled up data on heart attacks and flu and matched it between 2019 prior years and 2020. And she was measuring the data. And all of a sudden, heart attacks were down 2020. Like for the first time ever. And she's like, that type of dip doesn't happen. And it's because certain causes of death were being labeled as stupid 19. And we can get into the whole thing about, you got higher kickbacks if people were diagnosed. The hospital got kickbacks for having stupid 19, right? The government was. Right. So it's in your best interest if you're a doctor, you like, yo, label that dude stupid 19 so I can get a little bonus in this hospital. We need a little bit of money, extra money in this hospital. If you're the CEO of the hospital, director or whatever. So there's that whole agenda. Then it's just like, what happened to the flu? Nobody got the flu no more. Flu was down. They start. See, I believe. Don't get me to quoting on this, but I believe the CDC stopped reporting on flu last year.
Everything out.
So, it was, again, this is just communism and socialism,
right?
Which is centralization of power, just seizing power and taking away your individual rights.
And usher in, I guess, the new ways?
The old ways.
Hey.
Like that.
The old ways. Yo, man. One last thing before we get out of here, man. Grift. I know that words existed, but you guys really made it a thing You and Uncle Hotep made grifting a thing. We got the Grifty Awards now. I thought it was so dope how you had Larry Johnson announce the thing because it made sense for that category because it's a sports category.
Sports category.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it was dumb. Like, oh, you know what you're doing, bro. That's what I mean by you're still making it fun. You still know what you know, but let's have fun with these grifters and these people that don't know what the fuck, these actors, these celebrities. Let's have fun with them. So I respect it, bro, because going too much down the truther path and all that, I guess it's overwhelming information, and it's like you said, you try to I think we focus so much on learning from the past to prevent things from the future, to prevent things from happening in the future again, that we forget to live in the present. And you know how to I feel like you found a way to differentiate everything and balance everything out a right way. So I respect that.
I found a safe way to tell the truth. A safe and fun way to tell the truth.
There you go.
A safe and fun way to expose what's happening out here.
There you go.
You know, because a lot of this is they want to destroy your vibration. They want to, because even when you're down the truther path, right, it lowers your vibration. You get angry, right? You hear about some of the things that happen. It makes you angry. And that's part of the agenda. They want you angry because then you start thinking illogically.
Yeah.
And you start saying stupid shit online and like, gotcha, delete your account, right? So it's just like, all right, Hoteps have a responsibility to the world, to all of humanity. And the first and foremost thing is to raise the vibration to a frequency of happiness. How do I take the truth and make people laugh? How do I take the truth and make people smile? So I make people see it. That's why some people say, yo, we watch your show because you take all the tragedy in the world and turn it into one big joke.
Yeah, you and Uncle Hotep for sure do that.
You know, and you don't feel angry after our show. You sit here laughing at the world burning down.
You guys find it was the best format for a podcast, man. Involving the super chat and all that. It was just like, you guys, it was a great niche because that really is the goal right there, the super chats.
Yeah, there's a lot of gold in them super chats, man. And, you know, people get to participate in the telling the truth. And even how we redact certain terms and whatnot is part of the wokeness. Because you got to ask yourself, why won't he speak about that? Yeah. Which intrigues the mind, right? Mm-hmm. So the thing is, I don't want to tell you what to think. I just want you to think.
That's what I pride my platform on, bro. I tell people, don't believe what I'm saying. Don't take anything what I'm saying. Go do your own research. Go do your own due diligence. I'm just trying to show you guys a different way of thinking, we don't live in this reality that you think you live in. It's really an illusion, and we got to snap out of it. That's why it's CHRISPIRACY, because it's entertainment, but it's still the conspiracy stuff. But I'm not too caught up in the conspiracy shit no more because it's just, we don't know, man. We don't know. We don't know what.
So if we look at the grifters, we grifting the grifters.
You are.
Grifties.com. We turned it into an award show. You know, it's some great viral content. Mm-hmm. Jason Whitlock said he loved it.
It was amazing.
Said he wants to be a part of it next year. Right? So we'll have Jason Whitlock present an award next year.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's great. But again, we've monetized the grifters. Right? We turned it into an app. So we're bringing people and showing people, yo, look, we're building software off of a societal events. And then we're letting people have fun too because they're coming in and they're nominating these people. So they get it off their chest. Look at this one. I'm going to nominate for them grifties right now. So you get to vent and you get to release some of that frustration. Then you get to watch how these people trend on the app and whatnot, right? Yeah. So we're teaching people how to use tech and how to just manipulate. Like I said, we playing chess, man. And you can't be one of those people that just come online and complain. That's why I said the closest thing to black people is conservatives. Because when I look at them, I'm like, y'all just like the black community. Y'all don't really like build nothing. Y'all just complain about some shit. You know, the conservatives complain about the liberals. Black folks complain about white supremacy. Both of them don't know who the real enemy is. Right? And then y'all mad at each other and y'all got more alike, right? So I'm like, both of y'all is just real ignorant. Republicans, Democrats, everybody's just ignorant. Everybody's just stupid.
Right.
You know, so they got more alike than they think. But again, it's just like, I don't complain. I analyze, strategize, then execute.
Medicine through the candy, bro.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much, Hotep. Brother Hotep, Bryan Sharpe. Website, what, BryanSharpe.com, right?
HotepJesus.com.
HotepJesus.com, even easier. I appreciate you, bro.
It's easier. It redirects to the same place, but I think that's easier for people. HotepJesus.com.
Okay, sounds good. And I'll have everything for my listeners as well to just click, find you easy. But I appreciate you, bro.
Nice.
It means a lot. Thank you so much. It was an amazing conversation. I learned a lot from you as well, and I love learning on my own episodes. People tell me that I'm a teacher, but I also pride myself on being a student. So, thank you so much for just enlightening me as well. Appreciate you.
You did an excellent job, man. Thank you,
man. Talk to you soon. Hopefully we cross paths in the future.
Oh, definitely.
All
All right,
man.
brother.
Later, man.
Peace.
Yes, sir. That's what I'm talking about right there. Brother Hotep Jesus, man of God. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that episode. Hotep Jesus is an amazing individual, super smart. He's for the people. And I really do hope to see him on Hip Hop Podcast in the future. Having him on Joe Budden would be amazing to have. Just so you can shut all these people up, to be honest. Make them look stupid. Honestly, that's kind of, I shouldn't even say it like that. Just inform them and hopefully, it enlightens the audience and the listeners. But, man, shout out to the good brother. I really do appreciate that. Someone with that big of a following and platform to just reach out and do mine. This guy was on Joe Rogan, man. This guy was on Joe Rogan. So if you're listening to this episode because Hotep Jesus is on here and you like what you heard, you like my platform, you like what I'm bringing to the table, please do me a favor and subscribe to CHRISPIRACY on the YouTube, on Apple Podcasts. I'm on Audio Mac. If you go on my Twitter, ChrisXMab, the link is there for all the platforms that CHRISPIRACY is on. But subscribe on YouTube, please, Overly Blunt TV, or just type in CHRISPIRACY. Apple Podcasts, follow, leave a 5-star review, 4-star review, 3-star review, 2-star review, 1-star review. Leave some reviews and comments. Share it, please. And again, if you're here because of Hotep Jesus, thank you so much. I really do appreciate you for listening to this episode and taking time out of your day. So on that note, I'll see you guys next week on another episode of CHRISPIRACY. I'm out.
Okay. Grab your folders in your bags, it's the end of class. Good looking Chris X Matt. We'll be sure to make it back for the next session that you're hosting. See you right in the next showing. Grab your folders in your bags, it's the end of class. Good looking Chris X Matt. We'll be sure to make it back for the next session that you're hosting. See you right in the next showing.